The night was still and silent, a little too silent. All around was dark, except for a lone light that was shining in the distance in front of the jail. In that stream of light sat Atticus. He was just sitting there in expectance, reading his paper, and waiting for something to happen. Atticus had no idea that his kids were watching him from behind cars, fighting back the urge to run out to him. In the distance, you could hear tires tearing up dirt, and then finally the action started happening. Headlights split the darkness, and then came rolling in the people Atticus had been waiting for. They came rolling in on their hot ride. Out stepped a group of large, husky men with disturbed looks on their faces. They looked like they were on a mission, and they intended to get what they wanted. They walked up to Atticus, and the closer they got to him, the more nervous the kids got. One of the troubled men spoke up.
"He in there, Mr. Finch?" "Yes, sir, he is, but he's sleeping. You don't want to wake the baby, do you?" "No jokes, Mr. Finch. We mean business. Now step aside before things get ugly." "Which one of you are talking again? I can't really tell. You're in a mob of 3. And why don't you just go home before you do something you regret? Mr. Heck Tate is around here somewhere. You better be careful." "Ah, don't worry. He won't be around. Send him off on a fake wild goose chase."
Scout got too excited, and she couldn't hold back anymore. She ran off to the men to see what was going on. Jem followed. Atticus didn't really like the idea of his kids being in any kind of danger of the sorts. He told them to go home, but they just blew him off like they didn't hear anything and continued to investigate what was going on. One of the scary men had enough of the kids' annoyance and snatched Jem by the collar. This snapped Scout into defense mode, and she flung into action to protect her brother. She kicked and hollered.
"Now let him go! Get your hands off of him!"
"Now, Scout, you know that we don't behave like that. You aren't supposed to be kicking people."
"Ain't nobody gonna lay a hand on my brother! Wait, is that you, Mr. Cunningham? Hey, Mr. Cunningham!"
Mr. Cunningham pretended not to hear.
"I said, hey, Mr. Cunningham, don't you remember me? I'm Jean Louise Finch. I go to school with your son. I beat him to a pulp once. He's a good kid. Don't you remember me, Mr. Cunningham?"
After a few moments of awkward silence, the crowd seemed to reawaken, and finally he spoke.
"Yeah, I remember you, little lady. I'll be sure to tell him that you said hey. Okay, boys. Now it's time for us to go home."
The crowd dispersed, and they left as if they were never there.
Mr. Finch, are they gone yet?" "Yes, Tom, they're gone. Now why don't you go rest up? They're not going to bother you anymore."
The end.